Hello everyone, welcome back to the kitchen table. Today on the kitchen table we're going to be going through binding or rebinding a range extender to the camera on your Vision Plus or indeed your Vision. And we'll explain why you might want to do that and how to go about it. But as regulars will know, because we're on the kitchen table, we always have to discuss our quads with a beverage of choice. And today is a special edition from Hardy's. We're back in Australia. This is the Chronicles edition. This is number 3, Butcher's Gold, which is a Shiraz Cabernet from southeastern Australia, and it's bloody nice, so cheers. Fantastic. So yes, range extender, camera. When you buy them in the box and you get your Vision Plus home, obviously these are pre-bound at the factory and they talk to each other, so that if you're flying with many phantom friends, you know, there's no problem with you seeing what the other guys are seeing. They're bound together. Now, you might want to rebind that. There's a couple of situations. You may buy, because of a failure or an accident, you may buy a new range extender. Perhaps you drop this one, or perhaps the battery isn't lasting as long as it ought to. Something like that. It's getting a bit long in the tooth. You need to buy a new one of these. Alternatively, you may have had an unfortunate incident and you need to buy a new one of those. In either of those scenarios, you will need to bind the two back together again. The other time you might want to do it is if you are having problems with a fine range extender and a fine camera. There's no damage, but you're not getting a link. The link has dropped somehow, or you're getting other problems with the link. Then sometimes a rebind, which is effectively kind of resetting the connection, may, and I emphasize may, help in those situations. So, fairly straightforward. It is mentioned in the DJI manual, but it's kind of skipped over, and I know that some people are a bit concerned about it because they're worried that if they kind of rebind something, will they lose connection and some issues. So DJI make it fairly easy. We'll spin this over, because what you'll need to bind these two is, because it's based on Wi-Fi, this camera has a MAC address, just like, you know, your Wi-Fi router at home and the computers and the tablets and the phones connecting to it. It's all done through MAC addresses. This has a MAC address, and these two, that's how they link to each other. Now, what DJI do is very cunningly, to help you, they have the MAC address up here, and it's actually a QR code. So you can, if you want, use the app to scan it in. Some people have said, oh, I've lost the code, or it's become scratched off, it won't work. Big problem. It's not. You can actually manually type in the code in the app as well using these last 6 digits here. Not a problem. If you still have lost everything and you can't do it, then what you can do is you need to get hold of the camera's serial number, which you can do by looking down there. I don't know if you can just see it sneaking in there. If you phone up the DJI service line and give them that serial number, they can then look up on their database and tell you what the MAC address is, and you can get yourself bound. A lot of people were concerned because with the Vision, the only place that was written was on the retail box, and people got their box and they threw it away, and then they wanted to rebind, and there was lots of calling up of service lines, but DJI have sensibly put it on the bottom. But as we all know, these things go outdoors sometimes and get scratched up. So that's the information that you need. So it's a fairly straightforward process. I've got everything fired up here apart from the aircraft. Let's just fire it up. I've been fiddling around with it, so I think it's going to come up as requiring compass calibration. No, it's not. Okay, fair enough. It did earlier in the day, but there we go. I'm going to use my tablet so you can see what's going on. Basically, what we need to be doing is that once you've got your MAC address, we need to reset the range extender, either the existing one, or as if we got a new one, we would still need to do this by using the cunningly recessed reset button here. And then we can put in the app all the details. So let's do that and go back into the app. And what we're looking at is in the settings section of the DJI app here. We go down to the binding section here. But before we do that, let's just sort out the reset procedure. So we've got our range extender powered up. We can see the system light is flashing away. It's linked, it's talking and sending the data down. So we're going to use a handy tool, and what we're going to do is just press in that rebind button and hold it down until that flashing stops. It's gone solid. There we go. It's gone out. It's now ready to be rebound. So what we need to do, this is on Android by the way, iOS may vary, I haven't got iOS devices so I don't know. I'm going to choose now, we should wait for the range extender to start broadcasting its SSID, and there it comes up there, Phantom, and then a string of letters and numbers. So we can connect to that. We go into settings and we go into binding. And we've got our camera bound. No, we haven't got a binding. We know that it's not applicable, so we need to bind a new one. So you've got the SSID and the MAC address. So if we go down here, you can scan in the QR code on the bottom. If you've got a device with a scanner, that's probably the quickest way. But for those who don't have one, or they don't want to use it, or for some other reason, I'll show you. If you press there, you've actually got the ability to enter the 6 digits. So it will always pre-populate the first 3 for you because that's set at the factory, and then you've got the last 6 digits. So if we have a look, ours are, handily for me, 025932. So I'll put 02, let's lock that on, 59, and I apologise for the reflections, 32, and we OK it. It's come up now immediately with the camera SSID, the MAC address. There will be a quick pause, and now what we need to do is accept that. Binding is successful, and you'll see it has now populated, and we're fully bound. So after a short while, the range extender should reboot itself. I haven't touched the power, and our stored SSID will come up. We can then connect. We can see that we get the binding signal. The green flashing light is our camera bound. Let's double check. There it is. The camera is indeed bound up and everything's working as we normally expect. And that's it. It is really straightforward. You can't really go wrong if you follow the step-by-step. Even if you haven't got the QR code, you can get the MAC address. If you haven't got the MAC address, you can ring DJI up with your serial number, which is hidden away under there, so it's not going to be sort of rubbed out. There is a copy of it on the side of the box that the aircraft came in, so there's plenty of ways of doing it, and it is fairly straightforward, as you can see. I understand why people would be nervous about it. I was the first time, because you have a perfectly working kind of link and you just want to add a new range extender or something like that. I know some people have had to do that because they've tried to modify their range extender for further distance and have messed it up a bit. So get a new one, and that's how you would rebind. That's it. I hope it's proved useful to you. Thanks very much indeed for watching, and we will see you again soon back on the kitchen table. Until then, cheers.